So this is what I call for this program. I call this the founder readiness framework, right? When I think about entrepreneurship, I think it's a very contrarian way of living life. It is not for everyone. It is for people who are okay taking the odd bets or taking on the risk. You definitely need to have a higher risk appetite if you want to be an entrepreneur, right? The number one thing which we assess for founder readiness is the founder's background, right? What do I mean by founder background? You need to convince us that whatever you have done in your professional life has led you to this point, or your life experiences have made you ready, or you are the best suitable person to execute this idea. Okay. A lot of time we find a mismatch between the founder background and the idea they are trying to execute. Now, if you have not done B2B sales in the past, or if you have not experienced dealing with businesses, large businesses, and you want to do enterprise SaaS, I think it's going to be an uphill task for you, right? Either you will need a co-founder or you will have a very sharp learning sort of a curve, right? And you will need to figure out how to sell to businesses. And it's not easy because you will make many mistakes on the way. So having some help on this will make your life easier. So founder's background is very, very important for us, where we try to find out who we are dealing with and what is it that inspires that person to execute this idea, right? What has happened in the startup ecosystem, because I have been part of private market in India since 2011, 2012, and some of the earlier deals which came around 2008, 2009, right? Um, People are jumping into startup ecosystem for different motivations, usually building around different ideas which are hot in the market, right? After executing it for a couple of years, they realize that it's not as rosy or as easy as they thought. Okay. So unless you have a solid founder background where you have the right reasons and right motivation to enter this field, I would suggest you should not enter this field. Okay. Second most important thing is about future. Okay. Venture is very different from public markets because earlier in my life, I was an investment analyst for a mid cap fund, maybe roughly 15 years ago. At that point, most of my analysis was basically looking at the industry data and how has it done in the historical perspective. Now, venture is completely opposite. Venture is about forward thinking. It's about things which are going to happen in future, where you may not even have any data. You may just have some qualitative comments or some inputs from discussions from industry stakeholders, etc. Good founders generally have some kind of conviction and inflection about the future, how things are going to shape up in future. And if they are going to shape up 5 years from now, you need to start building now so that you are there when it actually happens, right? Unless you have a deep inflection, I think it's very difficult for a accelerator or a venture firm to bet on that idea, right? Third is focus on technology versus product. Now, here, most of the founders are generally very much in this is mostly applicable for tech founders or who have some kind of IP in terms of technology. They're in love with the product and they are very sure about the use cases, right? What I've realized a lot of time, probably 80-90% of the time, the actual use case is not where they make the money, right? They find the use case in some adjacency or some totally unrelated idea, right? And so that's why I recommend founders to focus on the technology and not the product. You can figure out the use cases later on if the technology is good. Okay. So product should not be the focus, technology should be the focus. Fourth is about differentiation. Unless you are able to differentiate yourself in the market in a country like India, I think it's very difficult to find any real success. You need to find differentiation. It may not be clear in the first month when we start working together on the second month, While you are executing together, we need to figure out how you're going to differentiate yourself. It's not only in terms of positioning, but also the unique experience which you bring to the customer, especially if we are talking about consumer businesses, which is one of the themes for us as well, right? So this is very important that constantly the founders need to be obsessed about differentiation. So as Fibonacci X, we differentiate ourselves by doing scope-based acceleration, which nobody in India is doing right now, right? So that is our differentiation, and the way we execute is also very, very different from any other accelerator where I have been the mentor in the past or where we have invested, etc. Right. Next is the duration mindset. Now, this is important because a lot of time founders don't understand this, but venture building is usually a 7 to 8 year journey before you see any real success or any real money in your bank account. Getting funding does not mean that you have become wealthy or you have money to spend on your needs overnight. Okay. Because investors' money is for growth, is not for your own expenditure. So duration mindset, I think in the times of Shark Tank and social media, I think this is what young founders need to think about, that you need to be ready for next 5 to 7 years of long hours and kind of a miserable life because you won't have money to spend on your needs. Okay. Lastly, but the most important and most underrated is what I have termed as the T-shaped competency map. If you think about any business funnel, right, from customer acquisition to qualifying the sales leads and delivery, and even in offline businesses, right, usually you can see there are different pillars of the business. So, for example, there is marketing, sales, finance, ops, technology. And founders need to build their competency across these areas. Plus, they need to go deep into one area. At least one area is where they should have their hold, right? So it's like a T-shaped competency map where horizontally you are touching different topics, but you are going very deep into one topic, right? Unless you have that, I think as the business grows, you will be becoming irrelevant and basically redundant in the whole scheme of things. So either you're very good at product, very good at customer sales, or something else, right? Or very good at ops. Something has to be your strength. Plus, you need to know a little bit of everything. So this is what I called a T-shaped competency map, right?